Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambham Śaṅkarācārya madhyamam Asmadācārya paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Mūkam karoti vācālam Pangum langhayate girim Yatkripātamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Om शिष्यात्म समर्पण कार्पण्य दोषो उपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म सम्मूढ चेताः यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् Om. Welcome to the class, and we are in the 15th shloka of the 3rd chapter. The shloka goes like this. Karma brahmodbhavam viddhi brahmakṣara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajñe pratishthitham. Because this has so many times the word Brahma has been used, we wanted to clarify what the term Brahma or Brahma or Brahman means, and then we wanted to derive the appropriate reference that goes in this shloka. The conclusion was the Brahma refers to the Veda and Akṣara refers to the Parabrahma Swarupam. And the Yajña together with Brahma is more meaningful when we attribute the word Veda or the knowledge to it. And that is how we came down to the term Veda. Now we are analyzing the term Veda. Veda is, as was discussed or initiated in the last week's class, the Veda basically is a knowledge base. The way that it is said in the Upanishads, we had taken it from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in which Yajña-Valkya is telling Maitreyi that all the 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda, are from the God's breathing. That is basically reflective of the fact that it is effortless. And we attribute the term Apauruṣeyatvam. And we also discussed about some of the knowledge that we have received, like the buoyancy that was given to us by Archimedes. We can very clearly see that it was a revelation. So what is meant by a revelation was discussed, and why it is called as Apauruṣeyam is what we were looking at. This leads us to the next topic of discussion, which is what are all the deficiencies in Pauruṣeyatvam. What is Pauruṣeyam? That which has a human effort in it. When a human puts an effort to come up with something, there are lots of ups and downs. In the Vedic world, they are categorized into 4. These 4 are said to be the deficiencies in that which is created by man, or with a conscious effort when a person creates it. Then these are all the 4 limitations that it gets subject to. A best example is E is equal to mc square. Even today, we are debating about it, saying there are particles which are witnessed to be faster than light. That means the c, which is representative of the speed of light, cannot be used as a constant. And that would lead the E is equal to mc square to be incorrect. So the thing is, despite the fact that the best of the efforts has been put, there still are some of the limitations. Those limitations that the Vedanta speaks about are the following. The reason why we are talking about this is when you are a karta, the karma that you do will always have these 4 or one of these four limitations in the outcome. The first is called as Brahma. This is erroneous aspect, like, preaching with an ignorance about their own, or having an ignorance of their own ignorance. Human intellect goes with a feeling that what I have concluded is the truth. So you you just root yourself and you are not opening up to the truth. And because of that, the limitation arises. The truth is vast and it has to be explored. The way that we put it is, if you conclude something and if I conclude something, if they have differences, it means either the other person is wrong, or you are wrong, or both of you are wrong. It cannot be that both of us are correct. We make it as a very convenient thing, saying it is opinion and then we conclude it. Basically, we stop the pursuit of finding the truth. Not to find the truth as a decision is okay. That is not a problem at all. There are times when you can just ignore some of the places where the conclusion did not be there. But the conclusion that you have done, that you have made to yourself, should still be kept under doubt. And the pursuit should be eventually made if the same subject comes again, if in case it is disturbing you, or it brings you into that kind of, hey, there are people who are disagreeing. So am I making any conclusions based on that disagreement, or not seeing the truth? So being open to that, not being limited, not losing out on your confidence because of that, but basically having that open mind to say that, hey, this is Pauruṣeyam, so it has to have those limitations. When needed, I will be able to explore to see whether I can get to the truth of it. The next one is Pramādah. Pramādah basically means carelessness. In Tamil, Pramadam means, oh, very good. But Pramādah in Sanskrit is carelessness. Now, human expressions include erroneous ones, not intended, but it is expressed. You have no intent to misguide somebody, but at the same time, in your communication, you have taken the other person in the path where the knowledge being conveyed is wrong. The other person is going with that wrong information taken from you. And this also happens very, very normally in all our communications. Third one is Karana Apātavam. Karana Apātavam means the manas and buddhi are born with deficiency. There is a bit of sanchal in us. We are disturbed, or we are already putting things into place, that it is a nature of the mind and the buddhi to be such, because they are not Chaitanya Swarupam, that's only Chaitanya Abhasam. What is meant by that is, the effect of the mind and the buddhi are based on the reflection that is given by the Chaitanya Swarupam. And because of that, there is always a limitation with respect to what the mind can conceive or the buddhi can analyze. And any knowledge that arises out of it is going to have this limitation. The last one is called as Vipralipsa. It is a deliberate act of misleading. And this is also because of the mind. I can try to trick the other person in order to presume that I have gained something out of it. We might have defined that gain, and we might have even achieved our objective. But because of this Vipralipsa, also the Pauruṣeya expression is limited by the accuracy. So just because somebody has told you something, you don't have to blindly believe it. And that applies to this class as well. When you want to derive the knowledge, do not go with the belief. This is a foundational difference between the organized religions versus Vedanta. In Vedanta, the truth is found by each and every individual by themselves with the help of a guru, of gurus. Because you cannot from nowhere create that particular knowledge. It has to have a basis. But that base is not the truth. The truth is something that you use the base to arrive at. That is what a truth is all about. The knowledge that we have to take from here is, if I believe in something, try to move further to finding the truth. And that is the main thing that we need to contemplate and understand in ourselves. But basically, in this context, in this shloka's context, here the Veda is considered to be Apauruṣeyatvam, means it is given as a direct knowledge by God. And hence, that which is there in Veda needs to be understood in the right way. Finding the truth after you understand the Veda is again the same thing like Guru. The Veda would have put the foundation for you, but finding the truth is your work. Veda is not the truth. We give the status of a Praman, of a means of true knowledge to Veda, no doubts about it. What you understand is from the expression of Veda, and that expression becomes a limiting factor. If you conclude that this is said in Veda, then it is a belief. But if you put your effort to understand and find the truth behind what Veda has declared, then that is the path that will lead you towards the liberation, towards all of the issues being resolved. Being Apauruṣeyam, Veda does not carry these defects, is another thing that we can put in our mind as a factor to re-emphasize. Moving further, now let us take a look at the term yajna and karma. Here, these two are the other words. Karma, brahmodbhavam vidhi. What is it? The action is originated by or from the Veda, from the knowledge. Know that. And this knowledge is from the Akṣaram, which is the Parabrahmam. So this Veda in itself is created from the Akṣaram. The Tasmat, therefore, Sarvagatam Brahma, understanding that this Veda goes everywhere, Nityam, at all times, Yajñe, in Yajña Pratishthitham. So this karma and Yajña are the one which are being joined contextually from a karma yoga point of view by Bhagavan. And hence, let us take a look at Yajña and karma. This ties beautifully to the second line. The simple meaning is, therefore, Veda which goes everywhere is always established in Yajña, the sacrificial way of life. Sarvagatam, that which has gone everywhere, which pervades everything. The Vedic order is not confined merely to Yajña, as in something that we perform as a havan, like in the household, we perform the fire rituals. It is not just confined to that. The order revealed by the Veda encompasses the entire field of life. It defines our relationship with Ishvaraha, Devaha, Rishi, the knowledge, ancestors, the Pitru, and the fellow human beings. And even the plant, animal kingdom, and the inert matter we are connected to. That's why in our tradition, we even pray to the rivers, Ganges, to the trees, right? So Ashwatha tree, we still do the prayers. For us, everything is part of that entire, cosmic order. The greatness of Veda is so well established by Bhagavan here. By providing the term Sarvagatam, Bhagavan has said, hey, remember, this is not limited to what you connect yourself to. It is related to everything, every aspect that you can think of in future, thought of in the past, or thinking at present. Anything and everything that is part of the overall cosmic order. And hence, this knowledge, this Veda, goes everywhere, as in it is spread everywhere. Sarvagatam, that which goes everywhere, all pervading. Mantras come from Veda, that which provides intrinsic knowledge of the creation, about the creation. Karma is prescribed by Veda, that which will bring prosperity, growth, elevation, etc. Methods are revealed by Veda. It is not just the Brahmana, the procedural aspects of how to perform on Yajña, but it is also the upasanas which elevate yourself and eventual revelation of the true nature, which is Parabrahma Swarupa Jnanam. Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi. This eventual, the end knowledge is also conveyed by Veda. So it goes everywhere. Basic processes, basic way of living, the exercises that one needs to do or one can optionally do to elevate themselves and find the absolute truth, which is also defined in the Veda, the Upanishads. Veda reveals the dharmic karma from which a yajna arises. Yajna therefore becomes the living expression of one's participation in that order. Life is sustained through receiving. Karma Yoga transforms receiving into participation, contribution, and reciprocity. That is the beauty of yajna coming into our life, the Karma Yoga coming into our life. Otherwise, we are, sustained through receiving. That is why in Manusmriti it is said, Janmana Jayate Shudraha. It is very important to understand that when we are born, we are only in the process of receiving. Shudras Shukamabapniyat, the way that it is said in Vishnu Sahasranama Phalasruti. Right. So it is that Sukham alone is the driving factor, and that is sustained through the process of receiving. Karma Yoga, when you start practicing with consciousness, with absolute consciousness, what will happen is it will transform your receiving based living to that of participation, to that of contribution to the cosmic order, to that of feeling the responsibility of reciprocal giving. In fact, what earlier Bhagavan had said was, you do not appropriate. First, the thing that you do is give it back to the demigods who have given it back to you, who have given it to you. And only from the reminder of it, you have the right to appropriate it for yourself or distribute it amongst others. So this is something that is very, very essential for the elevation to take place in us. And so long as receiving is seen as the basis of our pleasure, you will see that the pleasure is never achieved. The more you receive, the more you become addicted to wanting more. And this will continue in the negative cycle of life. And Karma Yoga will transform it into a positive cycle of life. What does Acharya say here? He says, karma has its origin in Brahma. Brahma is the cause, Udbhava, of which know that. Means Brahma is the cause of karma. The Veda is the cause of karma. Understand that. The Veda, Brahma, again has its origin in Akṣara, the imperishable Brahma, the Paramātmā. That is the origin, samudbhavaha, of which Thus, Brahma, the Veda, has Akṣara as its origin. So basically saying that this Parabrahma Swarupam is the eventual, the ultimate source of everything, the origin of everything. And that has been established here. Since Brahma has emerged from that Aksharam known as Paramātmā, and how it has emerged like the breathing of the Supreme Being, effortlessly. Therefore, it is all-pervading because it illuminates all the meanings of life. Sarvagatam api sad nityam sada yajña vidhi pradhanatvad yajñe pratishtitam. Being all-pervading too, it is eternally and always established in yajna because of the primacy of yajna injunction that is in the Veda. Here, as you can see, Acharya connects Veda with the omniscient source, the Paramātmā, Parabrahma Swarupam. Rather than simply saying Veda covers every area of human life, the highlight here is it is just not Veda, it is the Veda that has originated from the Parabrahma Swarupam. That is the connection that Bhagavan has said, and Acharya has highlighted that aspect in his Bhashyam. Moving further, in the Shloka number 16, Bhagavan says this: Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayah aghayurindriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. Going word by word, evam, in this manner, pravartitam, put in motion, pursuing its course, caused to function. Remember, it is introduced as a cycle. So the cycle has to have started. This start, in this way, the pravarti has begun, put into motion. Na anuvartayati iha. Nanuvartayati iha. Tiha is na anuvartayati iha. Does not follow, does not keep it going, conform to it here in this world. Na anuvartayati. If somebody is not going to follow this order, yah, whoever, one who, as in whoever does not follow in this engagement of action, in this process of joining the action in the cyclical form, what do they have? What happens to them? Aghayuhu. The ayu represents life. Agaha represents sin. So their life is sinful. One who lives the life of papam. Indriya aramah. And for them, the indriya aramam. This is a very easy word. Indriyas are our 5 karmendriyas and 5 jnanendriyas. This 5 karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, it is only towards its indulgence, the sensory pleasures. That becomes their motive. When this happens, mogham, their purpose becomes, it goes in vain. The purpose of life we have discussed earlier too, which is kshetra paripalanam and dharma rakshanam, or basically attainment of the liberation and providing to the base who has given us this life. So mogham, partha, O Arjuna, son of Pritha, saha is he, jivati, lives. Let us go into the analysis. This is the kind of concluding shloka of Karma Yoga. The core definitions of Karma Yoga that Bhagavan has been speaking, he is going to conclude here. The Karma Yoga will come even up to the 18th chapter, no doubts about it. There will be instances and references of Karma Yoga. But the core topic which provides us the clarity of the meaning of the term Karma Yoga concludes at this shloka. 3.9 to 3.15 is where the shlokas basically promoted the meaning of Karma Yoga. Bhagavan has described an interconnected order. Now he is asking what happens if a human being receives, or he receives things from this order but refuses to participate in it. That is the basic explanation. And the reason is, this is a forcing mechanism in terms of teaching to give you the negative outcome of not performing, of not contributing. And that has to be emphasized to promote and cultivate the way of life to become that of a karma yoga. A direct translation, Hey Partha, one who does not follow, one who here, iha is you. So one who here does not follow the wheel, thus set in motion, whose life is given to papam, and one who delights merely in sense pleasure lives in vain. That is what this shloka is trying to say. You waste your life when you don't participate. Evam pravartitam chakram. Evam. Here, evam is thus. This thus refers to the shlokas from 3.9 to 3.15, in which Bhagavan had established the Yajña focused way of life. Aksharam, Brahma to Veda, from there to Karma, from there to Yajña, from there to Parjanya, from there to Annam to Bhutani. So this Bhutani is once again going back into Karma, and then this cycle continues. This flow, Bhagavan says, should then be put in a cycle. Living beings receive the nourishment and resources from the total order. Those human beings endowed with choice, they perform karma in the spirit of yajna. That is why we say the human life is so precious. If it was any other way, any other being, the voluntary way of giving back is not there. It is not consciously being able to give. They live their life in accordance with the order that has been prescribed on them. Whereas for human beings, the choice is there. No matter which varna, which caste, no matter. So if you are a human, then this intellect is there, which will allow you to make those choices, perform the karma with that choice in mind, and drive it towards yajna. Receive, contribute, sustain, receive, contribute, and put yourself into this particular cycle. A cycle that has been set in motion by the Chaturmukha Brahma, Prajapati, is the way that he introduced earlier. Na anuvartayati. This gives the sense of following, conforming to, continuing along with. One who receives from the cycle but does not anuvarte, means participates appropriately in it, connects to the verse 3.1 to 12. Tairdattana pradhayaibhyah yo bhunte stena yevasaha, where he categorized them as thieves. Right, so this is what you need to do. When we say na anuvartayati, he has already categorized them as thief. And those people, aghayuhu, one whose life is characterized by sin, papam, one who lives a very sinful way of life, is the way that he puts it. Bhagavan uses pretty strong word here. Not because enjoying the life is sinful, but because the person receives without contributing. The point is not about, enjoying. You should not put Indriya Ramaha as negative. It's not wrong to have the Indriya Aramaha, but Indriya Aramaha becoming the purpose and not contributing back, or not giving back, taking things for yourself. This is the one that should come to our mind. But because the person receives without contributing, his life is full of sins, is a sinful life. Aghayurindriya Ramo. or Aghayurindriya Ramaha. Indriyeshu Aramaha Yasya Saha is the way that the definition goes for this word. This must be seen as na anuvartayatiha and Aghayurindriya Ramaha. There is a difference in attitude. Indriya Ramaha, the world exists for my consumption, versus Yajña Bhavana, I have received from the whole. What is my appropriate contribution to the whole must be the first thought that comes back to us. A person takes from parents, society, teachers, nature, devas, ancestors, the knowledge traditions, it's everything. Ultimately, from the total order, but sees life entirely as what can I get? Think of it, right? The problem is we are refusing to attribute that everything we have got or that we have has been given to us by somebody. We are not even going to take it with us, and everyone is going to go. Everyone speaks this particular common sense words. The way that Bhagavan has put it is so very beautiful. He's kind of scolding them, right? He says that, hey, you are overlooking the fact that today, if you are able to speak in Tamil, in Telugu, in English, it is because it has been given to us by the parents. You cannot speak in Chinese or Japanese because we have not received it. If in case we start speaking Chinese or Japanese, it is because some other acharya, some other guru has given it to us. Someone has given which I am using. Anything that I have is something that I use, that I have received. That realization should be there in our mind. Bhagavan says people who don't have that realization, right, such a life violates the principles of yajna. And as such, their life becomes sinful. With respect to Indriya Aramaha, which is defined as Indriyeshu Aramaha Yasya Saha, Aramaha is not rest, which is used in that context generally. Hey, thoda aram karke aata hu. I'll take some rest and come back. Rather, it is to find delight in, getting the delight out of it. That is the meaning that is given here, that is to be taken here. Enjoys in the experiences of the Indriyas. This does not mean the Vedanta, the Bhagavan condemns the sensory enjoyment. Making sensory enjoyments a purpose is the meaning here. As in, my purpose of action is to derive the pleasures of the Indriyas. Pleasure is not a byproduct, but the objective. That is what is the problem. We need to understand the same gulab jamun, if in case I'm having today, which I totally enjoyed, say a week before, may not give me the same kind of satisfaction. There is a big difference in the object and the actual aramaha in this context, the pleasure in this context. The indriyaramaha is the problem. The aramaha is a result of your karma yoga phala, is the way that we put it. It is your papam and punyam which is manifesting at that point in time, which brings you the sense of delight and sense of pain. The moment you are tied to that, the thought that the objects are giving me the pleasure, then you are in the wrong path already, because you have not seen the truth. You are living in the life, you are living a life of illusion. Contrast that Bhagavan has given is to Yajna Bhavana. The attitude is the concept of being, of being compared to different way of lives. That is the way he started in the third shloka, right? Karma yogena yoginam lokesmin dvividha nishtha pura prokta maya nagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. This is the way he started. This objective is to create that lifestyle comparison and differences. Okay. Mogham sa jivati. Mogham is a powerful word that Bhagavan has used here. As per dictionary, we get the meanings futile, unprofitable, useless, in vain. Is there a difference between an animal and a human? Yes. And it is the intellect, the distinct intellect that we have. While intelligence can be seen in all, even in the animal, the intellectual capabilities are unique to human. All carry a sense of righteousness. It is not based on law. Law is a common code. That's about it. The sense of righteousness is something much beyond that. This is what we call as Dharma, Adharma, Vivekam. The ability to differentiate between that which is right and that which is not. That needs to be very clearly understood. That vivekam is there only in the human. A life that I lead towards the sensory pleasures alone, indriya aramaha, is a life which has not put the use of this ability, this distinctive capability that has been given to me by Bhagavan, that has been given to you as a human being. In other words, one fails to live the life of a human form that one has taken when we live for the purpose of indriya aramaha. And such a life is futile. I have got so much of things, but I don't use it at all. What is it? What does it mean? Right? That as simple as I don't have that. We used to tell a story in this where there will be a person who was very conservative in his approach. He used to eat the pan ka patta, right? You know, pan in those, even nowadays, I think people will have pan after their, meal or something like that. So what he used to do is he will buy the pan ka patta and he will see which is going to go bad soon. So he will first have that and then he will take the other one and so on. He passes away and they will say, in that community, they had this habit of folding the pan ka patta and putting it in the body's mouth. So when they were doing it, the son comes running and saying, hey, don't put that. Take this old one. He likes to have the old one. Even while death, he was not able to get the fresh pan ka patta. That is what we talk about, right? So that is what is the futile life. You are, what do you say, you have lived your life in vain. Even at your death, it is only that which is going to continue. So we need to understand here, Bhagavan is so beautifully putting it as mogham because you have not used the body, the life that has been given to you, that you have gained and taken birth in. And hence, that life in itself is a waste. It's useless. Bhagavan has been particularly strong in the choice of words here. In fact, before I say that, I suddenly remembered one of the discussions, which is, the counter argument that was placed in front of me at that time was a monkey being able to use a stick to go and hit someone. So are they not intelligent? That is the basic question, right? So I had to clarify saying that, hey, remember that monkey is not holding the stick at all times, thinking of if when the danger comes, I will try to protect it. The whole, the group of monkeys, they just live their entire life as usual. If they get a stick, then they will use it. But otherwise, it is not something that they can say, okay, let us have 4 monkeys who stand here guarding and safeguarding us while we enjoy and other 4 will take over. No, that is not something that can be, something that we can see in the monkeys. So there is a distinctive difference between a human and the monkey. Right, that was one of the things to say that, hey, we need to understand when we say that an intellect has been given to you and you are not putting to use, think of those examples. Now here, Bhagavan has been particularly strong in the choice of words. The progression can be seen. In 3.12, he said that people who do not follow this order are stenaha, thief. Right. In the 13th shloka, he said what they consume is only sin, and they are sinners. Bunjatete tvagam papaha. Right. So what do they bunjate? They bunjate agham, the sin. And who they are? They are sinners, papaha. And now he says mogham sa jivati. Their life itself is absolute waste. So he's progressively made it stronger for those people who are not living a karma yogic way of life. Only as a human one can work towards moksha, as well as kshetra paripalana, the purpose of life. A life centered around seeking pleasure will only lead you to disappointments towards the end. No matter how much success you may seem to have scored, you will realize that the pleasure and pain are natural occurrences, or they are occurrences due to your own prarabdha karma, due to your own accumulated sins and good deeds. And that is what is bringing you that output of sensory pleasures. It is not the objects. So when you say success, you try to measure it using objects. When you do that, you are limiting yourself. Think of it again. You are now removing the scope of your intellect and you are going into the untrue world. The true world is function and contribution, and then only appropriation, and then only we take it. So first we give it back to the devas, and then only we consume what is left over after giving to the devas. As a value point, the advice is to remove the desire-driven approach through these 4 steps. The first step is to identify the desires in us and categorize them. There can be 3 kinds of desires that emanate from us. The first one, desires that are absolutely legitimate. Say, I want to go to Gangotri. That is a legitimate desire. It's a good desire too. Desires that are considered adharmic, but you feel it is not wrong. For example, to tell a lie to get things done, to just pay the bribe to get a seat in the train. Those days it was there. I don't know if it is still there in India, but it was there. Right? You just go give 5 rupees and then the TTE will somehow arrange a sleeper for you. Right? So those are all the things which we didn't even realize are wrong. Desires that are illegitimate and you know that they are adharmic. These are all the 3 categories into which you want to understand your own desires and categorize them. The second step will be to work towards removing the illegitimate desires in us. This could be through contemplative meditations, self-punishments, self-rewards, learning about the ill effects of such adharmic actions, etc. Right. So, for example, I know that drinking is bad. For example, I'm not able to come up with something else. So I know that, okay, let us say that they say klepto something, I forgot the word, but I have that habit of stealing. Now I know that stealing is wrong. Otherwise, I wouldn't be hiding and doing it. So the moment I understand that it is wrong, now I can start doing it this way, where I will meditate on the wrongness of stealing. The second thing that I would do is, okay, if I don't steal anything today, I will reward myself. I will buy myself a chocolate. Or if I end up stealing, then I will not eat tonight. I will punish myself for doing so. Know what are all the ill effects of stealing, trying to learn more about it, understand the law in terms of what it is doing. Read Garud Puran to find out what is an effect that it renders on the world when you steal. And that is a punishment that will be given to you for that. Right. So in the Mrityu Kanda of Garuda Puran, there is a big list of the effect of your sins being listed there, and find out what is wrong with that and go in. So find out and then slowly overcome the illegitimate desires that are in you. The third step is to engage in value-based meditation. This will help remove the adharmic desires that sometimes you may feel are okay. You may want to discuss the righteousness and wrongfulness about such desires. Do engage in discussions. Try to open up yourself. Talk to a guru, talk to a guide, or someone whom you value. Become open about what you're doing. And that opening up yourself in itself will start limiting you in what you're trying to do. And then the fourth is the option that we need to have to moderate our legitimate desires, making them into non-binding desires. Okay, desires is a manodharma. It will naturally come into everybody. That desire is not wrong, that which comes in your mind. But that desire which binds you, if I don't get it, then I lose. When that happens, then it is a thing that you need to cure. That is the fourth and the last one, which is legitimate desires, good desires, making them into a non-binding desire, developing a sense of duty, increasing the devotion to God, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, bringing in that, accepting the results, whatever you get in terms of developing prasada buddhi. These are all the key characteristics of karma yoga that we have discussed. And the fourth one is karma yoga, which is going to help you moderate even a binding legitimate desire. Hence, this can be called as the benefit of karma yoga or karma yogic way of life that it brings to us. Remember, the Purushakara plays an important role here. Purushakara is the choice to act. What is it that I am ready to act is the thing that you decide. As a karta, you are swatantraha. That swatantrata will take an immediate effect in this place when you start putting that conscious effort. The effort needed should not be overlooked. It is not like things can magically happen. It is only the effort which yields results. In Bhashyam, Acharya puts it like this: Evam Ishvarena Veda Yajña Purvakam. So he who, being entitled to action in this world and does not follow the wheel set in motion by the Lord through Veda and Yajna, he whose life, Ayu, is sinful, Agaha, Papa Jivanaha is the word that Acharya has used, and who delights in the senses, who plays in the sense objects, his life is in vain. Tasmad Agnyena Adhikritena Kartavyam Eva Karma Iti Prakaranartha. The purpose of this section is the ignorant person who is entitled must indeed perform karma. This is very, very important. It is coming from Acharya. He says that when you have not reached the position of an akarta swarupam, a non-doer in your realization, then it is important that you have to engage in karma. Before attaining the fitness for steadfastness in self-knowledge, the one who has the knowledge of the true self is free from being bound to karma. And here Acharya is saying that till the time you are not enlightened by the Atmajnan, then action is a must for you. They must perform karma yoga. This having been established from na karmanam anarambhat, right? So he's giving the quote from the previous shloka. Na karmana manarambhat. Initially in the 3rd chapter he starts. Right? Just because you are not starting the karma, you don't get naishkarmyam purushaha ashnute is the way that he goes. Na karmana manarambhat. And he also quotes from Sharira Yatra Piche, Na Prasiddhyeda Karmanaha. Right here again, the another quote where it is very important, or it is very important to realize that action is inevitable in us. Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita. And then he also goes, Sharira Yatra Pichet Na Prasiddhyeda Karmanaha. Yajñartat Karmanaha Anyatra Ityadina. Mogam parthasa jivati iti evam antena. From the start of the yajñartat karmanonyatra to this, api yogena, then he says, prasangikam adhikritasya anatma vidihi karma anusthane bahu karanam uktam tadakarane cha dosha sankirtanam kritam. Right? From the yajñartat karmanonyatra to mogam parthasa jivati. By this additional text too, many reasons have been stated for the performance of karma by the entitled ones, as in by those, for those who are responsible to do. Right? That is, as in one who does not get this Atmajnana, who has not been enlightened with the Atmajnana yet. And the faults of non-performance have been enumerated. This being so, should this wheel set in motion be followed by all? Or, anticipating Arjuna's question as to whether the steadfastness attainable through Jnana Yoga alone, as in when he started, that is the way that I will go take a sannyas. Right? So from that point of view, by those who know the self, need to be followed even by one who has not yet attained it. So because he will say that Bhagavan will clarify, he will give the examples of Janak Maharaj, etc., who are considered to be the realized soul, yet they are fully engaged in the world. And he will give an example of himself also being in the same category. So he will establish that the karma yogic way of life is essential. It is immaterial which ashrama that you are, whether you are realized or not. But having that approach to the life, especially from the point of view of the contribution that we make to the next generation, right? Shishtachar is the word that we generally use for that. That Shishtachar, from that point of view, the importance of being engaged in karma, he will be speaking. And towards that, Bhagavan says, is the connection that Acharya brings to the 16th shloka and the 17th shloka. So at this point, we will take a break here and we will continue on our 17th shloka in the next class. Then we will take a leave here and connect again in our next week class. Harihi Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.